Let's open up the mailbag. Moves to improve. What will Brad Stevens do? Al Horford, will he just retire if the Celtics win it all? Jayson Tatum, hero ball. Jordan Walsh, it's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-Team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you every day. A free, fresh podcast that's delivered directly to your device. As soon as I publish, it goes through its little internet thing, and poof, it shows up right on your phone, whatever device you use. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Get onto the YouTube page. Let me know what you think in the comment section there. It's a lot of fun to discuss the show. If you're new to the show, I'm John Karalis. I used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal and for you. That's what I'm doing all of this for you. And today, for you, I have a mailbag podcast. Mailbag can be sent to johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Send your questions in, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Send them in. I get them throughout the week. And basically, every chance I get to do a mailbag, I'll pick a few and I will answer them. Sorry I don't get a chance to get to all of them, but it's I only have half an hour. So sorry. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Later on, we'll get to Jordan Walsh. We'll get to whether we should be worried about OG Anunoby going to the Knicks, Jayson Tatum's hero ball. But this whole first section is kind of on the same theme. John says, a good team requires solid bench players. Do you think the Celtics bench is good enough? If not, who would be the first priority to be traded as the trade period starts to get more active? Malachi, I'm starting to believe that this team we have now can win it all. I don't believe we need to make any trades. Aiden, which position group should the Celtics try to add at the deadline? Rob, what do you think is the chance the Celtics can trade for Alex Caruso and Andre Drummond? Wow, both? All of these questions in the same vein, and these are representative of many other questions that I've gotten in the similar structure. So you have to understand what the Celtics have, what they're willing to give up, and where they, what might be available. And as of right now, not a ton available. Chicago, what is Chicago going to do? They have tradable assets. They're supposed to be willing to sell. Zach LaVine hasn't been playing. He wants out or is agreeing to be moved if the opportunity presents itself, whatever that is. Chicago, kind of, sort of a mess. But that kind of, sort of part is kind of the issue, because they are still the 10th seed currently. They are 6-4 in their last 10. They have had some modicum of success recently without Zach LaVine. Andre Drummond has been part of that. They've had reason to say to themselves, well, look, we're in this mix. Maybe if we can get our act together, we can get into this play-in. And if you get into the play-in and you can win it, then you get into the playoffs and you never know what's going to happen. Whatever they are thinking, I don't know what the Bulls front office is going to do. Now, at the same time, Alex Caruso makes like $9 million. That's tough. The Celtics don't have a mechanism for trading him unless they stack a bunch of salaries together, which is very, very difficult to do because everybody's got rosters. Everybody's got basically a full roster. And you can't send 3-for-1, 4-for-1 out to get a guy like Alex Caruso, because they have to have all of the roster spots available to make the trade. They cannot say, yeah, let's do 4 for 1 and we'll just cut 3 guys after we get them to get down to the roster size. No, you have to have the available spots to accept the players. So if you're saying, hey, Pritchard plus this guy, plus this guy, plus this guy, no, because they have to have the spots to bring all of those guys in. And then if they want to waive people, they can waive people. So it's extraordinarily difficult. The Celtics do have a $6 million traded player exception. That's not something that they're just going to go out there and use for just to say, hey, maybe this guy can be an improvement. If they feel good about Nemayesh Keita getting in there and playing his minutes, and Luke Cornett playing his minutes, the last 2 games for Luke have been pretty good. If they feel good about that and they think, hey, we can get through the regular season, and in the playoffs, it's just going to be a 7-man rotation anyway. So you're going to play Porzingis a bunch. You're going to play Al Horford a bunch. And you might say, well, it'd be great to have Andre Drummond for some insurance, because if Porzingis happens to get hurt in the playoffs, pulls a Malcolm Brogdon and gets hurt at the worst possible time, you want to have some kind of insurance. Totally understand that. But that's why you have Cornette and that's why you have Keita, assuming that, let's say, Keita is going to get upgraded at some point. All of this is to say that Boston is rolling right now 26-6, best team in the league by a couple of games. They're winning 81% of their games so far. They look good. They seem like they're kind of pretty much whole. You have to be careful about what you send out at this point, who you're bringing in, what the guy coming in is going to expect. And I guess you just don't want to mess up some of the chemistry that's on it. This is a good group. This is a good group. And if you bring in the wrong guy, it can throw the balance off. I always like to compare stuff like this to a waiter carrying a tray of just drinks or plate of food or whatever. If you've ever waited tables, and I have in my life, I grew up in the restaurant business. If you ever balanced a tray on your hand, and the worst thing that anybody can do is just, oh, here's my drink, I'm just going to pick that up. You're like, no. You have to prepare. You have to actually be the one, because you got to get your balance ready. You've got to be prepared to take something off. If you take the wrong thing off and you're not prepared for how it throws off the balance, the entire tray flips over and you drop everything. You got to be careful when it comes to the Celtics of who you give up, what you're bringing back, and what that does for the locker room. The Celtics can use the traded player exception. They do have an open roster spot. They can spend up to the $6+ million. That will absolutely put them over the second apron. That will limit them for sure. That will limit them moving forward. That will change how they do business. If there is a player that is available, and I don't know who that player would be, I'm presuming they would target a big man. If that player is available and the Celtics feel the need, like, we have to pull this trigger. We love Nemayesh Keita, but he's not going to be a playoff performer. We don't feel comfortable putting him in there against Milwaukee or Philly or anything like that. Then maybe you do make a move. But also keep in mind, like, if you're saying Andre Drummond, a name that I've brought up and said, I've never been an Andre Drummond guy before, but maybe he's, in this circumstance, to be pretty good. If you're going up against Philly, Drummond has been very ineffective against Joel Embiid. He's just been garbage against Joel Embiid. So that's not going to help you very much there. So my final landing spot on all of these questions is, I think the bench looks pretty good. There is room for improvement, but I think the Celtics are going to be very, very careful about the type of player they bring in. And they're not going to send out Peyton Pritchard. They're not going to send out Sam Hauser. They're not going to send out rotation guys. They're not going to mess with this current rotation to add somebody unless by some miracle, a name that we're not even considering comes up and you're like, well, yeah, you have to do that. So let's see. But guys that are making more than $6 million are kind of out of the question at this point. So just keep that in mind. All right, we're going to come back. We'll talk about Al Horford. It's the time for the annual Will Al Horford retire if things go a certain way? We'll talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Our friends at PrizePicks are the best daily fantasy sports outlet out there because it's just you against the projections. They set the number. You say more or less. If you get it right, you win that projection. Now, you can pick 2 to 6. If you pick all 6, you don't have to win all 6 to get something back. But if you do win all 6, you get up to 25 times your money back. That's pretty good. You can do it with one sport. You can go across sports and their combinations, their special leagues. So you can go a football player's touchdown passes and basketball player's block shots or whichever one. Pick one. You can make the combinations and have some fun. You can be rest assured that if a guy gets hurt, then no problem because there's a reboot policy. There's injury insurance. Guy gets hurt in the first quarter or first half, doesn't come back in the second half, boom. He gets rebooted, you're all set. So go check out prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. That's an extra bonus there. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. You get that PrizePicks first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 streaming channel, national sports on YouTube. So forget about the debate shows that you're constantly like, one guy takes one side, one guy takes the other side, and it's just blah, blah, blah all day long. They're just fighting for no reason. Get real analysis, get real discussion, get it all day long on Locked On Sports Today, 24/7. Go check it out. Back to the mailbag here. Tony asks if the Celtics win a championship this year. I could see Al retiring. Is he Hall of Fame material? Maybe he comes back and tries for another run. Hall of Fame material. First of all, I don't know if Al will retire because, I mean, look, we love the walk off into the sunset. We love the go out on a high note type of story. And that's something that I think everybody loves the idea of. Guy wins a championship, especially when you're Al Horford and you're 37. You'll be 38 if he wins a championship. I've done it all. I'm done. Goodbye. Right into the sunset. It's a fun story because we like the happy endings like that. But I don't know, man. That locker room is fun. Being in a locker room is fun. Playing basketball is fun. I'd keep going as long as I could. So people say retire. Like, if the Celtics will have him, I think he'll stick around for as long as the Celtics will have him. I mean, he could be in a potential Udonis Haslem kind of position. Like, hey, Al, we'll keep paying you the minimum if you want to stick around and hang around the end of the bench. Hey, if he wants to keep coming back, then yeah, go for it. Make some money. Why not make a few $1 million a year? What the hell? If somebody wants to pay me a few $1 million and like, yeah, I like the city, I like this team, like, yeah, what the hell? So, is he a Hall of Famer? I don't think he has the NBA numbers to be a Hall of Famer, right? Like he never averaged 20 points a game. He never, once averaged 10 rebounds a game. Never got up to 2 blocks a game. He has done a lot. He has piled up the points, but I don't think, let's see, career points. He's at 13,000. So he'll pass 14,000 at some point soon. It's not like a big monster NBA career. He had a very good NBA career, no doubt. A very good NBA career. 5-time All-Star. Did he make an All-NBA team? I don't think. Yeah, one All-NBA team. So 5-time All-Star, one All-NBA team, All-Rookie, one All-Defensive team. It's a very good career. Is he a Hall of Famer? You factor in the college career, you had 2 national championships. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. If he had a better international resume, then maybe you could make the case. I'm going to lean no. Al Horford's not a Hall of Famer, although I think most players would kill for the career that he had. But yeah, I don't think that's the case. Jean-Luc from Tampa. Starting with Utah, the Celtics are about to go through a weird stretch on their schedule where they alternate home and away games. How can a stretch like this affect the team's rhythm and routines? Let's take a look at this schedule here. So they start, he's saying, starting with Utah. So they're in OKC Tuesday night. By the way, hop on to the SiriusXM app and listen to the local broadcast, Grandy and Max. You can get the radio broadcast, match it up to your TV, listen to them if you don't want to, if you want to. That's a good way to do it. Anyway, OKC on the road, Utah at home. 2 games at Indy on the road, Minnesota at home. Milwaukee on the road back-to-back, come back Houston at home. Toronto on the road, 2 games at home, San Antonio, 3 games on the road. It does alternate like that. It gets tiring. This is the grind of the NBA season. It's January, you're tired. This is game 32. So game 33 against OKC. So you're coming up on the halfway point of the season here in the middle of this. That's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. San Antonio, right? No, Toronto, at Toronto. That week, that middle of January is the middle of the season. Guys are tired. Guys are banged up. The Celtics, presumably, they've got a good stretch here. OKC's a toss-up. Utah should be a win. The 2 Indy games, maybe you could win both. Maybe they have revenge on their mind. Minnesota, Milwaukee, maybe a split. Houston, Toronto, San Antonio. Those could be 3 straight wins. Denver is going to be tough at home, though they play Denver pretty well. There are wins on this schedule. The Celtics will probably be first at that point. Maybe this is the point of the season where they start to get a little tired and a little bit bored and a little bit complacent. That's where the human nature kicks in. And that's what this schedule will do, right? If you want the biggest impact on rhythm and routines, it's you come home, see your family. Okay, I got to go. The home road back-to-back is tough. Then, the 2 games in Indy. Ugh, what a place to be stuck for 4 days. The only person happy about that is Brad Stevens. Minnesota at home, then back on the road to Milwaukee. That's tough. Getting to Milwaukee's not easy. Houston, then Toronto. Getting to Toronto's not easy. This is going to be like a grind. No doubt about that. So prepare yourself for a potential kind of lull. And if it hits, the Celtics have been pretty good about not making these excuses, not taking these excuses that are there. At some point, it will take a toll, and that's just how it goes. If it hits, don't get too worked up about, oh, here come the Celtics. Oh, look at them lethargic. Oh, look at them thinking blah, blah, blah. Like, understand ahead of time. This is where the grind catches up to a team. Cut them a little slack, and if they power through it, then that's a really special team, because there's nothing you can do about the schedule and what it does to a body. There's nothing you can do. The All-Star break is still a month and a half away, so they're just gonna have to power through it. That's tough. It's tough. Look, these guys get paid a ton of money, no doubt about it. They fly planes, they fly charter planes, but they're still planes, right? Like, you stand up in a plane and you're above 6'1", they don't have extra tall planes for these guys. These guys are all tall. Like Peyton Pritchard can stand up on a plane. That's it. The coaching staff can. Not even all of it. Right? You stand up in a plane and you're tall, you're still hunched over. It's still a plane. It's still a pressurized cabin. Yes, you get the best hotel rooms on the road. It's still a hotel. It's not your house. You're living out of a bag. Like, yeah, I'm sure you would trade your life for theirs. I'm not saying that their life is bad, but it's still not the easiest thing in the world to fly. You take off, come down. Being in the pressurized cabin takes a toll. It causes inflammation. It does actually have an impact on your body. It's comfortable. It's more comfortable than the planes I fly, but it's still, tough to get around on that. The bathrooms are still airplane bathrooms, right? The hotels are great and all of that stuff, but you're still eating food that's, it's basically takeout, right? You don't have your home stuff. You don't have the comforts of home. So just prepare yourself for the toll that it takes. Coming back, we'll wrap it up with a few questions rapid fire, including, is Jayson Tatum playing too much hero ball? And we'll get into the OG Anunoby stuff. That's coming up in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Our friends at FanDuel know that the regular season is wrapping up, but they want to give you this great incentive to get in on the action at America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, you, new customer, get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. All you have to do is place a $5 bet. Whatever it is, win or lose, place the bet. You get $150 in bonus bets. So go check it out. Cruise around the app. Super easy to use. And there are a bunch of different ways to bet. Live same game parlays. You can find bets in their new Explore tab, so you can kind of cruise through and see what people are betting on. They can even show you the best way to find popular parlays in their parlay hub. You can look at what other people are doing and see if you want to get in on that. Plenty more over at FanDuel.com/locked-on. It's got to be FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. I just ask you to use the tools that are available on FanDuel. They have them there so you can set your limits, set your parameters, set yourself up to gamble responsibly. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA after you're done with this show. I usually host on Wednesdays, although the Celtics are playing on Tuesday, so I won't be there this particular Wednesday, but it's usually me and usually Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. We have a lot of fun. Rotating hosts all week, so go check out Locked On NBA wherever you found this. Back to the mailbag. Jasper, is Tatum playing too much hero ball? This is a question back from the road trip, but it applies because I want to address. He says I've seen him just shooting threes over defenders and air balls, taking low percentage shots in general. It's something that he has been doing, something I've talked about recently. So the question is a tiny bit dated. I wanted to bring it up just so I can highlight that Jayson Tatum, when he is hunting for his shot, when he is trying to get that three-pointer going, it doesn't work. And I think that's what we're seeing on the road trip. When the three-pointer is just coming naturally, like it did in this last game, where the Celtics in San Antonio were moving the ball well, and he was getting catch and shoot opportunities, that got him going. The catch and shoot opportunities are just a little bit easier to get going. You can step into those shots a little more cleanly with a little less resistance. Pull-up shots are generally against a defender. They're generally more contested. So I think it wasn't necessarily hero ball that he was playing. I think it was him searching for his shot, him trying to find that three. When he doesn't do that and he plays just naturally, again, I will repeat the one thing I say, like once a week. You make the right plays, the right guys will get the right stats. The guys who make the passes will get the assists because they're looking for the guys who score the ball. If a guy who scores the ball gives the ball up, the guys who make the passes will look for him again because he's a guy who scores the ball. And that's across the board, and it applies especially to the Celtics because Jayson Tatum is one of the best in the league at scoring the ball. Jaylen Brown is one of the best in the league at scoring the ball. So those two guys, I've been critical of them, and I applaud them when they give the ball up. They will get it back because the right guys will make the right plays and the right guys will get the right stats. The passers will say, oh, I just got the ball, but I'm a passer. So let me make a pass to the guys who can score. So keep playing, making the right plays, and it'll be fine. It'll all come to you. Trust in the team. Trust in that. I'm not going to say trust the process, but trust in that thing that I just said. That is a process, but I don't want to call it that. I love this question from Rocco, age 9. Now, I don't know if this is actually Rocco, age 9, or if this is an adult who said, if I put age 9, he'll answer it because he thinks he's asking answering a kid's question. Rocco, if you are 9 and this is you who answered the question, thank you. Rocco, if you're an adult who said you are 9, shame on you. Put 9-year-old Rocco on the phone for me. He says, do you think Robert Williams is going to get hurt every year and we've seen the best of him? That's an advanced question for a 9-year-old, but hey, I mean, I guess the answer is in my heart, I want to say I don't think he's going to get hurt every year because, God, how many times can a guy get hurt? But my head's like, John, he gets hurt every year. Like, at what point do you stop, like, pretending? This year was like the injury in Portland was the one that made me just say, this was going to be the year that I thought he'd be healthy. I thought he had a good full off season. Maybe this is it. Maybe he is going to get hurt every year. I don't know. I hope that I'm wrong. This is the one question where I hope I'm absolutely wrong, but maybe we have seen the best of him, which sucks because I love Robert Williams. I just absolutely love Robert Williams, the player. I love how he plays. I love how he sees the game. He sees the game so well for a guy of his size. He's just one of the most genuinely like real dudes in the league, and like just a nice guy, a fun guy who I wish he was playing so I could talk to him when he comes back. Like, I would always want to talk to Robert Williams. Moving on. Enzo, should the Celtics be more concerned about the Knicks since they acquired OG Anunoby? Well, more concerned? I don't know. They gave up RJ Barrett. They gave up Emmanuel quickly. They got OG Anunoby. It makes them better in some regards, but it does sap their depth a little bit. I'll put it to you this way. I heard about the trade. I said, interesting. Seems like it could be a win-win. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. RJ Barrett going home to Toronto quickly, could be good fit there. OG, great defender. A defender like that in Tom Thibodeau's hands, that could be special. Maybe a little bit more concerned, but I didn't sit there and go like, oh wow, I got to write this big story about OG Anunoby going to the Knicks. It didn't move the needle for me. So it could be good, but also I'm not all that concerned. 2 more questions. Malachi asks, can you explain to me why we're not getting any looks at Jordan Walsh? I know the G League is totally different than the NBA. Yes, it is. But he's looked great for the Maine Celtics. It doesn't matter. I don't think he's looked. I haven't watched much of the G League, honestly. So I don't know. Like, I'm not watching him the way I'm watching the Celtics. I don't think he's getting like super high usage in Maine. He might be making some plays. He might look good. What I always say about the G League is G League success is meaningless. Generally speaking, G League failure is meaningful. If you're a good player, you should be doing well in the G League. If you're not doing well in the G League, you're not a good player. And that might change over time, but you've got to no one is going to say, oh yeah, this guy's not doing great in the G League, but once he gets to the NBA, he'll be fine. If you're good and you're going to be NBA good, you better be dominating the G League or at least doing well. So, but plenty of guys do well in the G League, and that doesn't translate to the next level. So that's important to consider here when it comes to Jordan Walsh. The other thing is, like, what's the rush? What's the rush? He's still too thin. He's still learning. Why are you going to put him in to develop him at the NBA level when there are games, there's reps, there's coaching at the G League level? It's still basketball. There's still games. He's still learning. It's not about the level of competition. He's not going to get that much better against the Milwaukee Bucks than he is against the, I don't know, pick a team. I totally blanked on all the G League teams. I was gonna make a reference, and I'm like, all of a sudden I can't figure one out. But that's it. There are practices available in the G League, and that's what he needs. He needs the reps. He needs to grow. He needs to physically grow. He needs to make the mistakes in a place where making a mistake doesn't hurt the team, right? Doesn't hurt in a meaningful way. Like, I'm sorry if it hurts the Maine Red Claws or the Maine Celtics, but this isn't. I don't care about their wins and losses. That's not what they're there for. I'm sure they'd like to win a G League championship. That's nice, but that's not what they're there for. So he can play his 30 minutes or whatever, make mistakes, and it doesn't matter. You put him in a Celtics game, a Boston Celtics game, he makes a couple of mistakes, you pull him because it's like, well, those 2 turnovers are meaningful, and you don't want to lose this game because you're giving Jordan Walsh those minutes. So I tried to say at the beginning of the season, do not expect Jordan Walsh on this team this year. He's not playing for the Boston Celtics this season. Tried to tell you guys that from the beginning. I've barely ever referenced him at all during the course of the season because he's not ready for the NBA. Let him stay there. He's a second-round pick. He had a nice summer league, but let him stay in Maine and be good. One more question here. Jacob asks, I think the Pistons roster isn't all that bad and really shouldn't deserve this kind of record. What are your thoughts on the record-breaking losing streak? What do you think leads to the streak, except for a mediocre roster? So, interesting, because they are not. I've talked about this, and they've won since this question was asked, but still, they're playing right now as I'm recording this, and they're down 26 to the Houston Rockets. So no carryover. They're getting worked by the Houston Rockets. Okay, why? Why is this happening? Well, starts off with some injuries. They weren't fully there. The roster's not that great, but they're more talented. Like, everybody looks at them and says they're not this bad. Well, sometimes when you get into a losing streak, you lose a few in a row, especially when you're young. You start to press a little bit. And when you press, you start to play like everybody starts to play at like slightly different speeds. And passes start to, like, especially down the stretch, passes start to fly out of bounds. Execution gets bad. You got guys with different agendas on the team that they know they're on a loser and they want to take shots where they shouldn't take shots. Maybe some guys who shouldn't be taking shots much at all are playing because there's little choice, or maybe Monty Williams sees something that we don't. Maybe he's trying to teach a lesson somewhere. There's a combination of things, and it's hard to say like what leads to a 28-game losing streak, because we've never seen one like that before, not in a single season. And the only other time we've seen a 27-game losing streak, the team was intentionally bad, trying to lose. This is a team that came in trying to win. So sometimes, struggles beget struggles, and you just it falls so far out of your control that you make a mistake, you slump your shoulders, you compound the mistake because you're sick of making mistakes, and it adds up, and that contributes to the next loss, and it just keeps on piling up like that. Sometimes it's bad luck. It has to be a combination of bad luck. Sometimes the other team just makes a shot out of nowhere. You're like, what the hell was that? So it's a variety of different things. It's hard to say exactly, other than they're not the best team in the world. They're not all on the same page. And when things start to go bad, it really can snowball because guys go off on their own. They have their own kind of takes on what they should be doing. And it's not, when everybody's not on the same page and when they're not all trying hard and it just starts to feel bad, it can just get out of control. Kind of like this podcast can get out of control sometimes. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Again, send your questions to johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Send them in. I try to answer as many as I can when I do have openings, once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks. So go send that in and I'll try to get to them. For those of you who are not subscribed, please do so. For those who are, I would love it if you share the podcast. My everydayers, I love you. I love that you come by and say hi at the arena. I'd love it if you share the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.